the internet didn't simply go down. As soon as the alleged photo appeared on the timeline, it froze. One picture, purportedly published by Mama Jones herself, is silently becoming viral with no explanation or background. Furthermore, everything that people believed to be true about Jim Jones' personal life was abruptly appended. Because this is a familial earthquake, not simply a messy gossip, if what fans think they're witnessing is real. Rumors had circulated for weeks, been circulating in whispers via group conversations and comment sections, but nothing specific ever came up. Brooke Bailey avoided contact. Jim remained quiet. Furthermore, Mama Jones was remarkably silent, which always signals the beginning of anything for her. Then, apparently, that image materialized out of thin air. A newborn, hospital tones, soft lighting, and two people close together put fans into a tailspin before anybody could even verify the object of their gaze. It was at the worst possible time. Jim Jones was already being questioned. Brooke Bailey had recently begun to publicly retake her role. The connection between Mama Jones and the leak, of all persons, is what gave the impression that this was deliberate rather than unintentional, thoughtless, or premeditated. Because Mama Jones is fully aware of the consequences of everything she releases into the world. Social networking detonated without warning. There were some supporters having a party. Some were appalled. Several people were perplexed. This was a baby? Was this old? Was it real? The most important question of all is, why would Mama Jones be the one to tell? Just quiet where clarity ought to be neither confirmations nor denials. Furthermore, quiet doesn't make a breach like this go away. It makes conjecture become conviction, because this is the most important lesson history has given us. Confidentiality is short-lived when family members are engaged. And if this picture is indeed what people believe it to be, then what transpires next will completely alter the situation. Since the start of that purported picture, the atmosphere around Brooke Bailey and Jim Jones changed, and fans could sense it in their stomachs. This was not an arbitrary, hazy screenshot. It wasn't just any blog entry. Something about this appeared to be personal. Too personal to be dismissed as mere online fiction. It is intimate. And the image itself wasn't the most disturbing aspect. It was thought to be shared by that person. The name that was linked to the leak was altered for Mama Jones. All of it. One thing is clear to anyone who has studied this family for years. Mama Jones never acts carelessly. She knows what optics are. The woman knows when things happen. And she is well aware of the harm that a single image can cause when it is shared without context. Because of this, followers started inquiring why the picture was taken instead of if it was real. There was no confirmation or caption for the picture, according to those who were carefully observing. There was no need for one. Social media went into overdrive due to the implications alone. Jim Jones, Brooke Bailey, a newborn. Even though no one had verified anything, months of conjecture, rumors, and unsolved tension felt perilously close to confirmation in a single picture. That's where anarchy starts. Every element was scrutinized by fans. The figure's placement, the lighting, and the scene. According to some, it appeared to be a hospital room. Some claimed it might have been faked, outdated, or misunderstood entirely. However, when the thought of a newborn came up, emotion overshadowed reason, since infants forever alter the story. Almost instantly, the name of Brooke Bailey went viral, and the Tony appeared everywhere. She deserved joy given everything she's been through, according to some supporters who expressed their happiness for her. Others thought they'd been misled about her personal life and felt betrayed, perplexed, or even enraged. Despite all of that ruckus, Brooke remained silent. The silence was overwhelming. Jim Jones also remained silent. There was no denial, no explanation, and no effort to stop the rumor. Furthermore, silence following a disclosure of this nature is never neutral in the realm of celebrity rumors. Fans use it as a blank canvas to paint their presumptions on. However, it was Mama Jones's suspected involvement that really caused a stir. Because it begs the awkward question of whether she shared the image on purpose or not. Was pride involved? Was it vindictiveness? Was it a ploy to remind everyone of who still has authority over the truth? Was it a messier situation? An uncontrollable emotional outburst that spilt into the public eye? According to insider rumors, tensions had been silently constructing for months in the background. Certain family members felt excluded from decisions they felt they should have been involved in. Relationships were strained, and communication had broken down. None of although proven, this was too nicely woven into the story for fans to overlook. People started looking at old Mama Jones and Jim events through a different prism. Moments where loyalty, control, and family hierarchy were quietly displayed in previous interviews and remarks. All of a sudden, it didn't seem unreal that a really intimate image could be used as leverage. Additionally, Brooke's quiet has weight of its own. She earned solitude, according to her supporters, especially if the rumors were untrue. Critics claimed that the absence of denial meant a lot, but ladies who closely followed Brooke's journey saw something else. As the world attempted to destroy her peace, it appeared that she was defending it. Fans started to question whether the picture should have been posted at all, whether it was real or not, whether family boundaries had been breached, and whether a child alleged or not was being drawn into adult disputes for reasons that added to the tense situation. Couldn't be related to love. At that point, the tone of the discourse darkened. There was more to this than a baby rumor. The topics included power, who gets to share the narrative first, and how family loyalty breaks down when privacy is fragmented. As hours went by without any answers, the conjecture continued to grow and change. In addition to wondering, is it real? Others were also asking, what does this mean for everyone engaged? Because if the picture was authentic, it implied that an entire life chapter had been purposefully kept silent. And if it wasn't, someone had just let a terrible falsehood blow out of control. In any case, harm was being done. There was no denying one fact: by the end of this initial wave, something could not be sealed again after the purported disclosure. Borders, public opinion, family dynamics, and trust. Abruptly, everything became unsteady. And the question was looming large in the minds of followers who were waiting for someone, anyone, to finally speak openly. Was it an intentional move or a happy moment taken from privacy? That demonstrated the true rift in this family. For once, a baby real or rumored enters the public consciousness. The story ceases to be just gossip. It gets to be personal. Also, this one was just getting started. As the narrative progressed into its second phase, the discussion became increasingly somber and uneasy, as people were no longer merely arguing over the authenticity of the picture. They were wondering why so much harm was being done by silence. The purported photograph kept making the rounds in a low-key fashion, being removed in some locations and reposted in others, constantly obtaining fresh viewpoints, beliefs, and feelings. And with each, despite the fact that no one had verified what the picture depicted, conjecture solidified into assumption during the course of the hour that went by without any explanation. That is where leaks get harmful. They can spread without proof. They only have to believe. Supporters started to distinguish between recent possibilities and previous rumors. They looked back to previous occasions when Brooke Bailey had avoided the limelight. There were moments when Jim Jones was abnormally silent. Sometimes Mama Jones would make broad allusions to benefits and changes in the family without providing specifics. Together, they produced a story that seemed plausible enough to make people flee, even if none of it was proof. Together, and it's really difficult to unravel a story once it feels finished. Many viewers were uneasy about more than simply the pregnancy rumors. It was the notion that a domestic issue might have been forced into the spotlight without permission. If the rumor were untrue, even those who didn't believe it asked why something so delicate would be permitted to spread unchallenged. On the contrary, some contended that addressing their oxygen is only increased by false rumors. The story was being shaped by the quiet whichever way. The talk was still dominated by Mama Jones' apparent role. A few admirers stood up for her, vehemently claiming she would never purposefully reveal something so private. Some were much less tolerant, claiming that because of her prior public engagement in Jim's life, the situation seemed believable, not proven, but believable. Because plausibility alone can undermine trust, that disparity was significant. The comment sections were emotional. Some claimed Brooke was concealing a truth that would change their lives. Other people accused a lady who had remained silent of having her desires projected onto her by the internet. Many questioned why a woman's private life and body were being scrutinized simply on an unauthenticated image. Older women, observing the circumstance, expressed unique uneasiness. They discussed the speed with which women are imposed with unsubstantiated motherhood tales, how happiness, sorrow, or privacy are taken by rumors. and how actual or suspected family members suffer collateral damage when rumors are let loose. Jim Jones's ongoing silence also acquired significant significance during this stage. Advocates presented it as a refusal to participate in careless rumors and as a form of protection. Criticism presented it, as others said, that it was a deliberate choice to let the noise fade on its own. All of those interpretations were being hotly disputed, but none of them could be confirmed. Whispers of an insider kind fueled the fire. Unconfirmed rumors surfaced that suggested family members were at odds over limits. Accusations of a growing distance in some partnerships. Indications that personal privacy and control disputes have been simmering a long time before the picture emerged. Again, nothing is proven, but it's credible enough to retain people's attention. As well as Brooke's quiet, it continued to be the most charged aspect of the tale. It appeared to supporters to be self-defense. It appeared to be confirmation to detractors. It appeared to impartial onlookers that the subject was not allowing speculation to shape her reality. However, the internet is rarely impartial. By this point, the narrative was no longer about a single image, but rather about who gets to define truth in the absence of speech. Not all fans were only responding. On the basis of perception, history, and tone, they were picking sides. It is also difficult to change perception once it has been made. People starting to say, even if it's not, was the most concerning realization. That statement demonstrated the extent of the harm. True, the damage is already done. Because once rumors get to that stage, they don't need to be verified to inflict harm. At the conclusion, one thing stood out in this chapter. This was not going to go away in silence. Regardless matter whether the image was authentic, misconstrued, or completely untrue, its lack of transparency had enabled it to become much more than it ever ought to have been. Moreover, until if someone made the decision to speak openly, without hinting or implying, but by explaining, the story would continue to be based on conjecture rather than reality. And that's the most crucial result of all, since not everyone is equally protected by quiet. On sometimes it keeps the rumor safe. Instead, at the third and most explosive stage of this scenario, the damage was no longer hypothetical. Whatever the reality might be, it was irrevocable, emotional, and reputation all.be in the end. The purported image had already done what leaks are known to do. Make everyone in the situation inhabit roles they never agreed to. There was more to this event than the rumor of a birth. It was the understanding that, without providing any background information, someone's most private life event, real or imagined, had been pulled into the public sphere. Furthermore, there is no clean way back after it occurs. The one that this wasn't simply rumors, as the internet had already determined. It made a statement. Even though fans acknowledged they lacked proof, they started talking as though the picture proved a hidden life. The inconsistency didn't quit the story. It got stronger. Because belief is independent of proof. The emotions that surround newborns, family, and betrayal are among the greatest, and emotion fills the voids. Brooke Bailey's quiet turn became the center of mass. By now, people weren't merely inquiring as to why she hadn't said anything. They were giving each minute she remained silent a meaning. She was shielding her child, according to some. She was shielding Jim, according to others. Some said she was defending herself against a maelstrom she didn't want to be in. Yet the most scathing voices asserted that quiet meant approval. While none of the interpretations were equitable, justice, seldom do leaks survive. Women who witnessed this showed intense unease. They discussed the frequency with which motherhood or the concept of motherhood is used as a weapon. The instant a woman's body is turned into public property, there is a rumor that she is pregnant. How dignity demands silence, yet punishes it with secrecy. Whether or not Brooke was expecting a child, she was losing her agency in real time. Jim, it felt more purposeful than neutral now that Jones was still not participating in the conversation. At this point, fans didn't anticipate a strong reaction. Containment was expected. A boundary is set, a line is drawn clearly. And when it didn't, rumors became much more fervent. According to some, he owed no one an explanation. Others said he owed everyone involved protection. The most explosive variable was Jones' apparent role. Many fans had stopped caring about whether she had actually released the picture at this point. Their attention was on its meaning. The notion that things in the family had gotten so bad that something so private might end up in the public domain without permission. Trust was shattered by the association alone, whether on purpose or by accident. This many started to remark,